The Atlanta skyline. A canvas of steel and glass shimmered with the promise of a new dawn. But for Marcus Thorne, a man whose hands had sculpted much of that very skyline, the rising sun felt like a whisper of something lost. Marcus wasn't just a name whispered in boardrooms. He was a force of nature. A self-made real estate mogul, he had risen from the gritty streets of the city's south side, transforming forgotten neighborhoods into vibrant communities. His projects weren't just buildings. They were beacons of hope, testaments to his unwavering belief in the power of resilience and the dignity of hard work. He built schools, community centers, affordable housing, not for profit alone, but for the soul of a city he deeply loved. His journey was a living testament to every young black kid who dared to dream beyond their circumstances, proving that with grit, integrity, and a dash of stubborn vision, you could truly architect your own destiny. Yet as he stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, the city glittering behind him, Marcus barely noticed the golden hues pouring into the room. His mind was elsewhere, fixated on the quiet hum emanating from the pristine white couch behind him. There, cross-legged, absorbed in a tablet, sat his 8-year-old son, Liam. Liam, with his sharp mind and observant eyes, was his guiding star, his universe. But he was also a constant gentle ache in Marcus's heart. Losing his mother, the radiant and beloved community leader Eleanor, at the tender age of 3, had left an invisible scar on Liam. 5 years Marcus had spent meticulously crafting a cocoon of safety and love, trying to soothe that wound. He had filled their lives with laughter adventures and endless bedtime stories, convinced that sheer devotion could fill the void. Still, a persistent whisper lingered in the quiet corners of Marcus's penthouse, a feeling that something was missing. He saw the joy in Liam's eyes, yes, but also a quiet yearning for something more, a completeness that even his boundless fatherly love couldn't quite provide. It was this deep, almost desperate desire to make our family whole again, to give Liam the sense of a complete unit, that led Marcus to a momentous decision. It was time to move forward. And then, like a perfectly composed melody, Serafina Dubois entered their lives. She was an exquisite symphony of charm and intelligence, a woman who seemed to glide rather than walk, her smile radiating warmth, her eyes sparkling with an almost too perfect sincerity. She captivated Marcus with her wit, her grace, and her apparent devotion to Liam. She listened intently to his stories, praised his drawings, and even managed to coax a genuine laugh from the usually reserved boy. Marcus felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years, a profound sense of hope blossoming in his chest. This was it, he thought. This is what Liam needs. This is what we need. But while Marcus was falling under Serafina's spell, Liam felt something else entirely. From their very first meeting, an unsettling chill prickled his skin. It wasn't anything he could pinpoint, no obvious flaw in her impeccable facade. It was just a feeling, a deep, visceral offness that only a child's unfiltered intuition could detect. He noticed the way Serafina's dazzling smile didn't quite reach her eyes, a subtle disconnect that sent a shiver down his spine. He saw how she studied him, her gaze calculating rather than truly engaging with him like his dad did. It was like she was trying on a role, perfecting her performance. As an adult, you learn to rationalize these feelings away. You want to believe the best, especially when your heart is telling you this person is the answer to your prayers. Marcus, blinded by hope and the desire for a complete family, saw only the beautiful exterior. He was making a common mistake, one many of us make, when we let our desires overshadow our innate alarm bells. The cracks, though almost imperceptible to Marcus, began to show. When Marcus was in the room, Serafina was the picture of a doting future stepmother. But the moment his back was turned, a subtle shift occurred. "Liam," she'd snap her voice, a low, controlled hiss. "Pick up your shoes. This isn't a playground." A seemingly small thing, but Marcus never minded his shoes. Or the way she'd shoot Liam a chillingly possessive look when he innocently tried to sit next to his dad on the couch, an unspoken warning in her eyes. These were tiny, insidious acts designed to subtly chip away at Liam's confidence to create distance. Then came the poisoned compliments delivered with a syrupy sweetness that made Liam's stomach clench. You know you're lucky to have a father like Marcus. She'd purr, stroking his hair, her touch feeling strangely cold. Not every child gets such opportunities. Some kids don't get second chances. It was a seemingly innocent remark, designed to make him feel grateful. But what Liam heard was, "You are a burden. You are lucky to be here." It was psychological warfare, subtly aimed at making him feel beholden, eroding his self-worth, and ultimately making him easier to control. The growing unease became a constant companion, a heavy burden on his young shoulders. He wanted to believe her, to believe that this beautiful woman would bring happiness to his dad. But his gut screamed otherwise. And that gnawing dread would soon lead him down a path no child should ever have to walk. The tightening knot in Liam's stomach grew heavier with each passing day. Serafina's smiles, once blindingly bright, now felt like a thin veil stretched over a cold, calculated stare. He saw the subtle flick of her wrist when she accidentally knocked over his meticulously built Lego tower, only to turn around and sweetly help him rebuild it when Marcus walked in. He felt the sting of her whispered criticisms. "You're so messy, Liam. Your father works too hard for this," delivered just loud enough for him to hear, but too quiet for Marcus to catch from the next room. Marcus, unfortunately, saw only the carefully curated persona, the woman who seemed to seamlessly fit into their lives, patching up the holes he perceived. He'd rationalized Liam's quietness, attributing it to the stress of a new person in their home, or simply being a sensitive kid. It's a common pitfall, isn't it? When we desperately want something to be true, we often ignore the glaring red flags, dismissing them as minor flaws rather than symptoms of a deeper, darker truth. This denial, this selective blindness, is often the very vulnerability manipulators prey upon. The true chilling revelation, however, came on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Liam was playing quietly in his room, his tablet on the floor, when he overheard Serafina's voice from Marcus's study. The door was ajar, and her tone, usually so melodious, was now sharp-clipped and utterly devoid of the warmth she displayed for Marcus. "Of course I'll have access to his accounts once we're married," she purred into the phone, a low, guttural laugh following. Liam froze his small hand instinctively, reaching for his tablet. He opened the voice recorder app, his heart hammering against his ribs. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that he had to capture this. He had to have proof. "And the kid?" the voice on the other end, raspy and indistinct, asked. Serafina's response sent a wave of icy terror through Liam. "Oh, the kid," she scoffed, the disdain thick in her voice. "He's just a spoiled brat. We'll find a nice boarding school for him. He won't be a problem anymore." A beat of silence then. "Just keep him out of the way until then. I'll make sure Marcus understands. He's so trusting." The cold, calculated words echoed in the quiet hallway, leaving Liam breathless. This wasn't about money. This was about him. She wanted him gone. The innocence of childhood vanished in that instant, replaced by a desperate adult resolve. No one would believe him without proof. His small hands trembling, Liam embarked on his secret mission. The next morning, fueled by a terrifying cocktail of fear and determination, he began his perilous quest for proof. His tablet became his stealth weapon. He'd sneak into Marcus's study, activating the voice recorder, his ears straining for Serafina's phone calls. He captured snippets, her discussing a prenuptial agreement that heavily favored her demanding exact figures of Marcus's assets, and always the chilling undertone about getting rid of the kid. Each recording was a confirmation of his worst fears, adding weight to the immense burden he now carried. He became a discreet paparazzi, shadowing Serafina, capturing her meeting a mysterious man in a sleek dark suit in a secluded corner near the estate's gates. Their angry gestures, the man's heavy briefcase, and Serafina's furtive glances around suggested clandestine dealings. Liam's finger clicked, capturing the damning images. The visual evidence was mounting piece by agonizing piece. One audacious afternoon while Serafina was out, he even dared to venture into her private study. His heart pounded as he sifted through her papers, snapping photos of documents he couldn't fully comprehend, but instinctively knew were important bank statements, investment portfolios, and a heavily redacted legal document. The risk was immense, the fear palpable, but the alternative, losing his dad to this serpent, was unthinkable. Serafina, however, wasn't idle. She noticed Liam's increased quietness, his watchful eyes. She began to subtly check his room, rearranging his things, in a way that felt like an invasion. She made snide comments to Marcus about Liam acting out, or being too sensitive, weaving a narrative that painted Liam as the problem child. Marcus, though loving, was still susceptible to her influence. He'd occasionally chastise Liam gently, but enough to make Liam feel further isolated. "Liam, your behavior lately. It's not like you. Serafina is worried." The words were like tiny daggers twisting in his heart. Then came the cruelest revelation, a discovery that truly chilled Liam to the bone. Hidden beneath a stack of glossy magazines in Serafina's study, he found a folder. His name was on it. Liam Thorne Psychological Evaluation. His small fingers fumbled as he opened it. The words blurred before his eyes. Behavioral instability, emotional volatility. Recommended placement in structured boarding environment for disruptive children. His breath hitched. This wasn't just about money. She wanted to erase him. She wanted to invalidate his very being, to twist his innocent spirit into a medical diagnosis that would ship him away permanently. It was a calculated, insidious plot to sever the deepest bond Marcus had. Liam had to act. There were moments like the time Serafina walked in, just as he was putting back a document, her eyes narrowing. "Looking for something, Liam?" she'd asked, her voice dangerously low. "You won't ruin this for me." The raw menace in her tone solidified his resolve. He would fight. He would make sure his dad saw the truth. And he knew exactly where to expose her. The wedding. The grand stage she had meticulously set for her triumph would become the very platform for her downfall. The battle lines were drawn. Liam, armed with hidden truths and a desperate courage, prepared for the ultimate confrontation, unaware that his fight would extend far beyond the lavish confines of a wedding ceremony. The storm was brewing, and Marcus unknowingly stood right in its path. The air in the Thorne penthouse had grown thick with unspoken tension. Serafina's accusations against Liam became bolder, more frequent. "Marcus, I found Liam trying to delete files from your computer again." She'd sigh dramatically, her eyes wide with feigned concern. "He's been so defiant lately." Or, "I'm worried about Liam's behavior, darling. He seems to be acting out, perhaps seeking attention." She was a master puppeteer, subtly turning Marcus against his own son, whispering insidious suggestions that chipped away at his trust. It finally culminated in the confrontation. Marcus, his brow furrowed with a mixture of concern and frustration, called Liam into his study. "Liam," he began, his voice strained. "Serafina tells me you've been going through her things and even trying to mess with my computer. Is this true?" Liam's heart sank. He tried to explain, to pour out the truth about the recordings, the documents, the terrifying psychological evaluation. But his words tumbled out in a frantic, disjointed rush, sounding like the wild accusations of a scared child. Marcus, seeing Liam's distress, but hearing only a jumble of improbable claims, shook his head. "Son, I know this is a big change for you, but Serafina is going to be family. You need to trust her. This behavior has to stop." The weight of his father's disbelief was a crushing blow. Liam retreated to his room, tears stinging his eyes. No one believed him. The man who had always been his rock, his protector, was now under Serafina's sway. This feeling of isolation, of being utterly alone against a formidable enemy, is perhaps the most painful experience for a child. It forces them to grow up too fast to find a strength they didn't know they possessed. But even in the depths of his despair, a stubborn spark of defiance ignited within Liam. He wouldn't let her win. He couldn't. His resolve solidified. The wedding, now just days away, was no longer merely a date on the calendar. It was the designated battlefield. He wouldn't just tell Marcus, he would show him. Liam knew that in a world where children's voices are often dismissed, irrefutable evidence was his only weapon. He spent hours meticulously preparing his evidence cache. He transferred every incriminating recording from his tablet to a secure cloud drive and then to a hidden USB stick. He carefully printed out all the photos of Serafina with the mysterious man, the scanned documents, and especially the chilling psychological evaluation. He even wrote a short, desperate note to himself, tucking it into the envelope with the USB. Show Dad everything. Don't let her win. It was his ultimate game plan, a gamble with everything he held dear. The tension in the mansion became almost unbearable. Serafina, sensing Liam's unyielding resistance, escalated her psychological warfare. Just the night before the wedding, she cornered him in the hallway, her face contorted into a mask of chilling fury. "You think you're clever, don't you, Liam?" She hissed, her voice a low, venomous whisper. "But you're just a scared little boy, and no one's going to believe you. Your father trusts me. So do yourself a favor, and stay out of my way tomorrow." Liam, despite his pounding heart, met her gaze head-on. "You're wrong," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "You don't get to win." The defiance in his eyes seemed to momentarily stun her, but her sneer quickly returned. The next morning, the Thorne estate buzzed with a frantic, joyful energy that felt utterly surreal to Liam. Florists bustled with arrangements of exotic white orchids. Caterers laid out opulent spreads. The air hummed with nervous excitement, the crescendo of hundreds of guests arriving, their laughter echoing through the grand halls. Serafina, in her pristine white gown, glided through the crowd like a queen overseeing her subjects, her face flawless, poised and radiating a dazzling, almost artificial light. She was the picture of bridal perfection, basking in the glow of adoration. Liam watched her, his own heart a leaden weight in his chest, seeing through the carefully constructed facade. Marcus, too, seemed to be swept up in the intoxicating atmosphere. He moved through the crowd, greeting friends, a wide smile plastered on his face. He looked happier than Liam had seen him in years, a beacon of hope renewed. Yet Liam, ever observant, noticed a nervous energy about his father, a subtle tightness around his eyes, as if he was trying too hard to pretend everything was perfect. Was Marcus deep down feeling the same unease, pushing it away? Liam couldn't be sure, but he knew with a fierce certainty that this was the point of no return. The grand illusion was about to be shattered. He held his breath, his small backpack heavy with proof clutched in his hand. He would wait until the very last moment, just before the words were spoken, just before the papers were signed. He would not let her win. The moment arrived. The organ music swelled, the vows began, and then a single piercing voice cut through the serene atmosphere, poised to unleash a storm of truth that would forever alter the course of Marcus Thorne's life. The grand ballroom of the Thorne estate was a vision of perfection. Hundreds of guests, adorned in their finest, sat hushed, captivated by the solemn beauty of the ceremony. Soft strains of classical music filled the air as Serafina, breathtaking in her designer white gown, glided down the aisle, her veil shimmering like spun moonlight. Marcus, standing at the altar, his eyes filled with a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation, extended his hand. The officiant began to speak, his voice a gentle rhythm. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the sacred union." Liam, seated in the front row, his small body rigid with purpose, felt the words echo hollowly. He watched Serafina, her face radiant, her smile serene, and knew the depths of the lie. His backpack, heavy with proof, felt like a lead weight, yet it also gave him an anchoring sense of power. This was it, the moment she would step onto the platform of false promises. He waited, his heart pounding a frantic drum against his ribs. The officiant continued, "Do you, Marcus Thorne, take this woman, Serafina Dubois, to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Marcus began to speak, his voice soft. "I do. Stop." The single word, shrill and urgent, sliced through the reverent silence. It was Liam. Every head in the room swiveled. The officiant paused, a look of bewildered annoyance on his face. Serafina's radiant smile faltered for a microsecond, a flicker of something cold and sharp in her eyes, before she quickly recovered her expression, morphing into one of concern for the distraught child. Marcus, his brow furrowed, whispered, "Liam, what's wrong, son?" Liam ignored them all. He stood, his small frame rigid, his gaze locked on his father. "Don't sign it, Dad." he yelled, his voice cracking with desperation. "She's lying to you! She's a liar!" A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Whispers erupted like a sudden storm, a chaotic murmur of confusion and shock. Serafina's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but she still managed to compose herself. She cooed, stepping towards Liam. "I know this is hard for you. It's okay, little one." Her voice was sickly sweet, but her eyes, when they met Liam's, were pure ice. Liam ignored her outstretched hand. He pulled his small backpack from behind his seat, unzipping it with trembling fingers. He pulled out his phone, holding it aloft like a shield. "I have proof," he declared, his voice gaining strength. "Proof that she's been lying this whole time." He fumbled for a moment, then hit play. Serafina's voice, clear and chillingly distinct, filled the opulent ballroom. It was the recording from Marcus's study. "Once I have what I want," her voice purred, devoid of any warmth, "I'll make sure he never causes problems again." A stunned silence descended. Then, like a dam breaking, the whispers erupted again, louder this time, tinged with outrage. Faces turned to Serafina, whose carefully constructed composure began to fray. Her perfect mask, so long meticulously maintained, finally began to crumble. Her eyes narrowed, the carefully sculpted smile twisting into a venomous sneer. For the first time, Liam saw the real her, the cold, ruthless woman she had been hiding all along. The transformation was horrifying. Liam didn't stop. He played the next recording, the one detailing the prenuptial agreement, her plans to get rid of the kid. The crowd's reaction escalated from murmurs to gasps of shock and disgust. Guests started rising from their seats, craning their necks, disbelief etched on their faces. Then Liam pulled out the printed emails and documents from his backpack. The photographs of Serafina with the mysterious man, the bank statements, the ominous psychological evaluation with his name on it. He held them up for everyone to see. "She wants to send me away, Dad. She says I'm crazy." Serafina let out a guttural growl. Her face contorted in a mask of fury. "It's nothing," she shrieked, her voice raspy, completely unlike the melodious tone she usually adopted. "That's not real. He's just a jealous child. He made it all up." She lunged towards Liam, her silk gown rustling like a serpent. But Marcus instinctively stepped in front of his son, shielding him. "You little brat!" Serafina screamed, her eyes blazing with pure hatred. Her carefully constructed facade had shattered, revealing the monstrous truth beneath. Then, in a moment of utter unhinged desperation, she unleashed a torrent of bitter confessions fueled by her unraveling anger. "You really thought I wanted you for anything other than your money, Marcus? Look at you, an old man with too much power and too much trust." Her gaze swept over the stunned guests, filled with pure disdain. "And your son, your little spoiled brat, he's no better, just a nuisance who needs to be dealt with." A collective gasp went through the room as Serafina's words echoed. Marcus, his face pale with a mixture of shock, disgust, and dawning horror, finally understood. His eyes, now clear of the blinders of hope, focused solely on Liam. He saw not a mischievous boy, but a courageous one who had risked everything to save him. "Security!" Marcus's voice, usually calm and composed, was now a thunderous roar that echoed through the grand ballroom. "Call the police! Get her out of here!" Serafina's eyes widened in panic. She grabbed a champagne glass from a passing tray and hurled it across the room. It shattered against a marble pillar, sending shards glittering onto the pristine floor. Two burly security guards moved swiftly, grabbing her arms. "You'll regret this, Marcus," she shrieked, her voice hoarse, as they began to drag her away. "You'll regret this. You'll lose everything." Her final venomous screams were muffled as they escorted her out of the room. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the rapid breathing of the guests and the soft murmuring. Marcus, his eyes still locked on Liam, sank to his knees, pulling his son into a tight, desperate embrace. "I'm so sorry, buddy," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have listened to you. My God, I should have listened." Liam clung to his father, tears finally streaming down his face, not of sadness, but of immense relief. The guests slowly began to depart, their murmurs growing louder as they processed the unbelievable events they had just witnessed. The danger felt immediate, palpable, and for a moment the world felt safe again. But even as Marcus held his son close, a chilling whisper lingered in the air, a premonition that this wasn't truly over yet. The serpent had been unmasked, but her venom still lingered. Justice would be a long and arduous road, fraught with unexpected turns and a lingering sense of dread as the whispers of betrayal continued to haunt the Thorne family. The grand ballroom of the Thorne estate, once a tableau of opulent celebration, now lay in an eerie silence. The air still carried the faint cloying scent of wilting orchids, mingling with the metallic tang of unspoken tension. Broken champagne glasses still glinted under the chandeliers, forgotten amidst the chaos. Marcus held Liam close, the embrace a silent promise of protection. Yet even in his father's arms, a chilling whisper lingered in Liam's mind. This wasn't over yet. Seraphina's final venomous screams echoed a promise of continued malevolence. In the days that followed, the Thorne penthouse became a fortress, but the emotional walls around Marcus and Liam were far more fragile. The quiet moments, once a comfort, were now fraught with a new kind of fear. Liam found himself jumping at shadows, his dreams plagued by Seraphina's contorted face. Every hang-up call, every unfamiliar car lingering outside the gate, sent a cold dread through him. One morning, a single blood-red rose lay on their pristine porch. A stark, chilling reminder that Seraphina, though caged, still sought to terrorize them. This psychological toll, the lingering fear that haunts victims of manipulation and betrayal, is often more insidious than physical harm. It chips away at one's sense of safety even long after the immediate danger has passed. Marcus, his heart heavy with regret and a burning need for justice, immediately contacted his most trusted legal counsel, Frank. The initial relief of Seraphina's arrest quickly gave way to the harsh realities of the legal labyrinth. Seraphina, true to form, made bail within days, her expensive lawyers launching a full-scale counterattack. They denied everything, claiming the recordings were doctored, that Liam was a troubled child who had fabricated evidence out of jealousy and resentment towards his father's new love. It was a vicious, calculated strategy designed to discredit Liam and paint Marcus as a victim of a manipulative son. This is a common tactic employed by those who have nothing to lose. They attack the credibility of their accusers, turning the tables with audacious lies. The media, always hungry for scandal, descended upon the Thorne estate like vultures. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire Marcus Thorne's wedding turns to chaos." Bride exposed as con artist. Son fabricates evidence. Paparazzi camped outside, shouting questions, twisting facts, and casting a shadow of doubt over Marcus's impeccable reputation. The pressure was immense, threatening to unravel the very fabric of their lives. Marcus, usually a man of calm composure, felt the strain of this public onslaught. But amidst the chaos, a new piece of the puzzle began to emerge, not from Marcus's legal team, but from Liam's lingering unease. The haunting fear that Seraphina wasn't alone. One restless night, unable to sleep, Liam found himself drawn back to the chilling diary he had found in Seraphina's office a few days after the wedding. A small, leather-bound book he had kept hidden, sensing its dark significance. He meticulously flipped through its pages again, his finger tracing Seraphina's elegant yet sinister script. The entries were a chilling chronicle of her deception. "He's too trusting, I can work with that," she'd scrawled about Marcus. "The boy is a problem, needs to be handled before he ruins everything," she'd written about Liam. "If Marcus doesn't sign, there are other ways." And then a truly terrifying sentence. "He's watching me. The boy knows too much. I should have gotten rid of him when I had the chance." The words confirmed the depth of her depravity, a cold, calculating evil that went beyond mere financial gain. As he reread the passages, he remembered something else, a faint detail from one of his earliest recordings of Seraphina's phone calls. A soft, distinct sound in the background, a door opening. It was barely audible, drowned out by Seraphina's voice, but now replaying it again and again, Liam realized it wasn't just background noise. It was the sound of someone else, someone with Seraphina. A chilling realization washed over him. Seraphina hadn't been working alone. There was an accomplice, a shadowy figure lurking in the background pulling strings, a true mastermind in this web of deceit. This was a critical lesson one often learned the hard way. Underestimating the enemy is a dangerous mistake. Marcus, in his focus on Serafina, had assumed she was the sole architect of their misery. But true evil often works in concert, weaving intricate networks of manipulation. Liam's discovery meant that their fight for justice wasn't just against Serafina, but against a hidden threat, an unseen enemy who might still be out there. Vigilance. Liam understood was key. Justice wasn't a single event. It was a long, arduous process, a continuous battle fought not just in courtrooms, but in the quiet corners of their lives. And this new revelation meant the battle was far from over. The revelation of an accomplice added a terrifying new dimension to their ordeal. Liam, now knowing the full scope of the danger, would once again have to put himself in harm's way, embarking on a dangerous solo mission that would lead him to the final shocking confrontation and the unmasking of the true mastermind. The faint sound of the door opening on Serafina's recorded call had become an obsession for Liam. He replayed it endlessly, straining to hear beyond Serafina's venomous words. A sound so subtle yet undeniably there. It was the click of a latch, a faint creak. The undeniable proof that she wasn't alone. This revelation ignited a fresh, terrifying fire within him. His father was still in danger, and this time the threat was unseen, unknown, and lurking in the shadows. Liam understood a critical lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones you can't see, the ones pulling strings from behind a veil of perceived safety. His relentless search for clues eventually led him back to Serafina's abandoned office. The police had swept it, but Liam's childlike gaze caught what professional eyes might have missed. Tucked beneath a stack of financial journals, almost camouflaged, was a faded receipt from a self-storage unit. A small detail easily dismissed, but his intuition, now sharper than ever, screamed its significance. Why would Serafina, a woman of such opulence, need a dingy storage unit? Liam knew this was it. This was the key. He debated telling Marcus, but the memory of his father's initial disbelief, coupled with Marcus's current overwhelming stress from the legal battle, held him back. This was his discovery, his final piece of the puzzle. He had to see it through. He slipped the receipt into his pocket, his heart thumping with a mix of fear and exhilarating purpose. The next afternoon, while Marcus was consumed by a lengthy meeting with Frank and his legal team, Liam took his chance. He hailed a taxi, his small frame almost swallowed by the back seat, and gave the driver the address. The storage facility was located on the outskirts of Atlanta, a sprawling complex of drab corrugated metal units. The air was dusty stale and held the faint metallic scent of disuse. Liam located Unit B17, his eyes scanning the empty lot. It felt eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the bustling city he'd just left. Inside, the unit was meticulously organized, unlike anything Serafina had left behind in the penthouse. Boxes neatly stacked, covered with plastic sheeting. And in the far corner, a large, intimidating safe secured by a sleek fingerprint-activated scanner. Liam's spirits sank. He had no way in. But then an idea sparked. He remembered how Serafina had playfully yet possessively brushed his finger across her tablet screen during their initial bonding moments, trying to show him a game. Could it be? He pressed his small finger to the scanner. Nothing. He tried another. Still nothing. Then, on a desperate hunch, he tried his thumb. The scanner flashed green. A soft click echoed in the silent unit, and the heavy safe door swung open. A mix of sheer disbelief and adrenaline coursed through him. He truly was her weakness. Inside, stacks of crisp bills lay neatly bundled. Alongside them were multiple passports, each with Serafina's face, but under different names and nationalities. A chilling testament to a life of deception. But his eyes were drawn to a small, unassuming black box nestled at the very bottom. He pulled it out, his hands shaking. Inside, nestled amongst velvet, were dozens of photographs. Pictures of Marcus and Liam taken at their home at the park through their windows. Pictures of their daily routines captured in chilling detail. Surveillance. The terrifying realization washed over Liam. Serafina had been watching them for months, maybe even longer, studying their lives, meticulously planning her infiltration. This wasn't a chance encounter. It was a calculated siege. Just as the horror of the discovery threatened to overwhelm him, a voice cold and sharp sliced through the dusty air. "Hello, Liam." Liam spun around, his heart leaping into his throat. Serafina stood in the doorway, disheveled, her hair stringy, but her eyes burning with an unholy light. She had been tracking him. She must have known the moment the safe opened. "I told you this wasn't over." She hissed, her voice a low snarl, utterly devoid of the charm she once wielded. Her face, devoid of makeup and pretense, was a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. Panic seized Liam, but a survival instinct honed by weeks of fear kicked in. He grabbed one of the nearby boxes filled with what felt like old legal documents and hurled it with all his might at her. It bought him a few precious seconds, just enough time. He sprinted past her towards the only exit. As he burst out of the storage unit, headlights flooded the alley. "Liam! Liam! Hang out!" Marcus's voice, filled with panic and fury, cut through the night. Liam sprinted toward the car as Marcus, his face etched with terror, leaped out. Just as Serafina stumbled out of the storage unit, a shadowy figure emerging from the unit behind her, Marcus saw her. And then he saw the figure. "No, Victor!" Serafina shrieked, her voice raspy, a desperate warning to the man stepping out behind her. "You won't get away with this. I took the fall for you." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Victor, his former business partner, now a disgraced rival, whom Marcus had inadvertently exposed for embezzlement years ago. A man he thought he'd put behind bars, a man who had resurfaced in Marcus's life a few months ago, seemingly rehabilitated, offering a casual friendship, a helping hand. The master of subtlety. The one who had discreetly introduced him to Serafina. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place with horrifying clarity. This wasn't just Serafina's revenge. It was Victor's. He had used Serafina, his own insidious pawn, to destroy Marcus from the inside out. But this time, the police were right behind them, alerted by Marcus's frantic preemptive call to Frank moments before. Before arriving at the storage unit, Serafina, now fully exposed, was arrested again, this time for breaking bail, violating a restraining order, and the new overwhelming evidence from the storage unit. The multiple passports, the cash, the chilling surveillance photos. And then the revelation of Victor. Victor, seeing the police, made a desperate run for it, but Marcus, fueled by rage and protectiveness, tackled him, holding him down until the police arrived. The aftermath was a blur. Serafina and Victor were both taken away, their screams of denial fading into the night. The police assured Marcus that neither of them would be getting out again anytime soon. The evidence from the storage unit, coupled with Serafina's panicked confession, sealed their fate. The true serpent had been unmasked, and the hidden mastermind, Victor, was finally brought to light. The battle was won, but the scars remained. In the weeks that followed, Marcus and Liam would begin the long, arduous process of healing, forging an unbreakable bond, and transforming their pain into a powerful legacy of hope and resilience. The arrest of Serafina and Victor brought a profound, almost disorienting quiet to the Thorne estate. The frantic energy of the past weeks, fueled by fear and suspicion, dissipated, leaving behind a stillness that was both a relief and a stark reminder of the trauma they had endured. The shattered glass from the wedding was swept away, the wilting flowers discarded, but the echoes of betrayal lingered, a phantom chill in the air. Marcus and Liam began the long, arduous process of healing, a journey that isn't linear, but filled with quiet moments of rebuilding. In the weeks that followed, the legal wheels turned swiftly. With Serafina's panicked confession and the irrefutable evidence from the storage unit, the surveillance photos, the multiple passports, and the chilling diary entries, coupled with Victor's long history of white-collar crime, their fate was sealed. Justice, though hard won, was finally served. Both Serafina and Victor faced lengthy prison sentences, their intricate web of deceit finally unraveled and brought to light. It was a testament to the power of truth, no matter how deeply buried, and a stark reminder that even the most cunning manipulators eventually face their reckoning. But for Marcus, the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the quiet moments with Liam. He spent less time in boardrooms and more time on the living room floor, building Lego castles, reading adventure stories, and simply listening. He learned to trust Liam's intuition implicitly, understanding that a child's unfiltered perception can often see through the facades adults construct. He apologized again and again, not just for his initial disbelief, but for allowing anyone to threaten the sanctity of their home. Liam, in turn, learned that even the strongest among us can be vulnerable, and that forgiveness, especially for those you love, is a powerful act of healing. Their bond, once tested to its breaking point, emerged stronger, forged in the fires of adversity. It was a profound lesson in resilience, that even when broken, you can rebuild, and often what is rebuilt is far more robust than what was lost. From the ashes of betrayal, Marcus found a new purpose, a way to honor the woman he had lost, and the son he had almost lost. He launched the Eleanor Thorne Foundation, named after Liam's late mother, a woman who had dedicated her life to uplifting her community. The foundation's mission was clear: to provide resources, mentorship, and safe havens for children from underprivileged communities, especially those who had experienced trauma manipulation or felt their voices unheard. It was Marcus's way of turning pain into power, of ensuring that no other child would endure what Liam had, and that every young voice, no matter how small, would be amplified and believed. Liam, now a budding young advocate, took immense pride in helping his dad. He joined Marcus at community events, sharing his story with careful, age-appropriate guidance to inspire other children to trust their instincts and speak their truth. He found purpose in helping others, realizing that his own painful experience could be a beacon of hope for someone else. The nightmares still lingered, sometimes a faint echo of Seraphina's chilling whispers. But Liam knew the scars wouldn't heal overnight. Yet he also knew he wasn't alone. His father had his back, and together they were stronger than any lie, any manipulation. As Marcus and Liam stood side by side at the foundation's grand opening ceremony, looking out at the faces of children whose lives they were already beginning to touch, a profound sense of peace settled over them. This wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning. The journey had been fraught with darkness, but it had led them to a place of deeper understanding, unbreakable love, and a shared commitment to building a legacy of resilience. One community, one child at a time. It was a powerful reminder that even in the face of the greatest betrayal, love, truth, and the unwavering spirit of a family can triumph, transforming pain into purpose and adversity into an enduring foundation for a better future. If you found strength in Marcus and Liam's story, please consider subscribing to our channel for more tales of courage, resilience, and triumph over adversity. Like this video, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments below how this story resonated with you. Your support helps us continue to share these powerful narratives.